Going on, guys? Lou here, aka the DFS Data Dad, and we're going to start this video off with doing our giveaway. So over the weekend we hit 100 subscribers, and I promised everyone here that every 100 subscribers hit, we'll give away $20 PayPal to any user who subscribes to the page or leaves a comment. So the way that this works is I can only see subscribers who share publicly that they have subscribed to a channel. So I've compiled a list of public subscribers that I can see, and I've compiled a list of every user who left a comment on any of my content. So the way that I'm going to run this here is I have a virtual dice roller. All right, we're going to roll a virtual die, and we have 6. Okay, and I have a list of users here. I'm going to randomize this list 6 times. Whoever's at the top is going to be the winner of the $20 giveaway. And if you can send me an email with your PayPal or Venmo credentials, and I'll be able to get that over to you. So excited to be doing this. Thank you everyone for subscribing and interacting with my content. Already up to 125 subscribers in 2 weeks. Really happy with the growth so far, and hopefully you guys are enjoying the content. I'm not going to get everything right. I'm going to get some things wrong, and I already have, but I have gotten some things right. And really what we're here to do is for me to share my perspective, maybe bring some information to your attention that you weren't aware of. If you have a good process and I can improve that in any way incrementally, then I'm doing my job. But if I'm bringing you back, let me know, and maybe I'll reevaluate my process. But pretty confident that I can help you guys out. So without further ado, let's randomize this list 6 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and at the top, whoever Hollywood Dick is, congratulations, you won $20. So I will, I'll probably tag you in this video, and if you can send me your information, that would be greatly appreciated. So Hollywood Dick, congratulations. It's so funny, out of all the users, out of 27 users, that was the one I was hoping to call out the most, hoping not to call out the most. Oh, just such a weird username, but that's okay. Well, congrats, Hollywood Dick, and we'll try to find a way to link up, and I'll get you that money. All right, so also wanted to review my lineups from the weekend, so we'll start with Saturday's slate. I was actually on to the Houston Texans. I thought the fantasy community was really over-indexing on the Chargers winning that game, and I got that right. It was not looking good pretty much through the first half, up until maybe the last 5 minutes of that half when C.J. Stroud connected with Nico Collins for a TD. But I entered 5 lineups here, so it's $100 total. Ended up walking away with $80 between 2 lineups, so down 20%, down $20 for that day. I'm okay with that. I'd rather lose something than everything. But turns out that my best lineup here was actually a Pittsburgh Steelers stack with Russ, Najee, Pickens, and Freiermuth. I think probably the biggest differentiator for my top 2 lineups here actually was the Texans defense, scoring 24 points. They made life really hard for Justin Herbert, and that was able to prop my lineups here up a little bit. Obviously, Ladd McConkey. I think out of 5 lineups, I had Ladd in 3, so 60%, a little behind the field on that, but that's okay. I think where I went wrong is I left way too many points on the table. I plugged in Deontay Johnson in all 5 of my lineups, only got 2 points. You know, I think it was an error there. Not really clear what his role is going to be, not really clear how many snaps he's going to play. And I bet on the talent there. It's Deontay Johnson. I think he's better than Mechie and Xavier Hutchinson, so I stand by the logic. It just didn't work out in my favor. The other lineup that cashed was the C.J. Stroud, Nico, Deontay lineup. Ended up taking both Ravens running backs, so Henry and Hill. Brought in Rashad Bateman, had McConkey in this lineup, and the Ravens D. So probably could have played around a little bit. plugged out this Ravens D for the Texans and could have gotten some more points, but also had 40% Quentin Johnson, who was an absolute goose egg. And I made a short earlier about how he can be a difference maker in your best ball lineups if you're playing best ball. At the time, I was very into the Chargers winning that game. Once I saw how much steam the Chargers were getting, I kind of needed to readjust and get some shares of the Houston Texans and then just reevaluate it, what that game could potentially look like, and actually started leaning towards the Texans at the very end of my best ball draft, so I think you would have seen that. But bad beat by me. I'll take full ownership of that. If you drafted Quentin Johnson because I recommended doing so, that's my bad, and I'm sorry. So that's Saturday slate. Sunday slate was an absolute weird one just from the very beginning. Let's just do a recap of all of the touchdown scorers from that day, and let's see if I can do it from memory. So we have the Bills and Broncos. We have Troy Franklin, Ty Johnson, James Cook, and Curtis Samuel. Cook is the only one, I think, out of all of those touchdown scorers we were expecting to score. Game 2, we have the Eagles and we have the Packers. So first touchdown of the game is Jahan Dotson. I don't think anybody was expecting that. The guy has barely had a role the whole year. Dallas Goedert and Josh Jacobs, I think, were the only touchdown scorers that game. A.J. Brown, who really negatively impacted my best ball lineups. I had him in probably a good 40%. Only 2 fantasy points. Really brought me down. Really going to make it hard for me to advance in a lot of my best ball lineups. But that's what happens. Sometimes you have a great player sitting right there for you to draft, and they just don't perform. So, yeah, not looking good for any of my Eagle stacks there, especially with A.J. Brown. And then the last game, a little more predictable of who's going to be scoring touchdowns, but I think we kicked it off with De'Ami Brown, and then we got touchdowns out of Mike Evans, Bucky Irving, and Terry McLaurin. So pretty predictable touchdown scores there. But if we were to review my lineups here, entered 5 lineups, $125, 1 cashed for $40, down $85 on the day. Where I went wrong is I did a complete fade on Saquon Barkley, which in retrospect I think looks good. But to compensate, or where I pivoted to, was Broncos running backs. And why I did that is because Audric Estime was out. So that leaves 100% of the snaps vacated to Javonte Williams and Jaleel McLaughlin. And looking at the data, the Bills led the league in running back receiving yards allowed. I know Sean Payton likes to use multiple running backs, so logic told me, hey, maybe Knicks might not get a lot of downfield threats, downfield looks, might need to do a lot of checkdowns. Running backs look good, and they are really cheap. Pivoting to them allows you to pay up for some receivers, and maybe that's how we can get different. Well, that backfired. McLaughlin, -2 rushing yards, 1 reception for 0 yards. Javonte Williams, 6.3 fantasy points. And I went all in on Buck stack with Mayfield, Irving, Evans as my locks for all my lineups. I also locked in Dalton Kincaid. Thought he was really cheap. I thought they would probably use the middle of the field a lot more. I think one thing I overlooked is how often he's on the field. Him and Knox pretty much split snaps. And I also plugged in Eagles defense into all my lineups, which I think was a good call. So we had good building blocks. We just didn't fill in the players that weren't constants with good players, if that makes any sense to you guys. So definitely missed out on some points because of these Broncos running backs. At the very beginning of the day, I was a little distraught. My lineups were not looking good. So I ended up, I'm not a big bettor, but I put some money on the Eagles, try to offset my losses here, which they did. And then I got, I think, a little ambitious, tried to run it back with a Bucks money line, ended up losing, but it's okay. Um, yeah, overall, not the greatest weekend for DFS here, but I think I definitely learned a lot from my mistakes, and we will try to be back for the divisional round and win some money there. But let's maybe dive into. I'm not a big showdown guy, but maybe let's dive into the game tonight, and that's the Rams and the Vikings.